Hello and welcome to episode 194 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is July 24th, 2023. Today I'm actually wearing the Alpaca granny square that I showed as a finished project last week, and I thought it was going to be too warm to wear it at the moment, but then the weather decided to get colder. So I am wearing it today. And right now I'm wearing it like a triangular shawl by folding it in half. That was sort of my plan from the very beginning to wear it like this. But there's certainly different ways that I can wear it. For example, I can open it up and wear it like a square. And if I pull it up a little bit round my neck, it doesn't slide down straight away, and I have different lines on my back like this, and it's not quite as warm because it's just one layer over my arms. And then there's of course the possibility of folding it in half lengthwise instead of from corner to corner, and I could wear it like a shawl like this. And again, I have a double layer. It's not quite as long down the back, but it'd be warmer up here. And then I can wear it also underneath a jacket if I pull it up like this. And then I can put my jacket on, and it's so squishy and soft and fantastic, I think. Then there's also the possibility to fold it like this, but not straight, but a bit off kilter. So it's not really a triangle, but it's more like this. And that sort of gives me several points hanging down different places. Yeah, so I think there's many things that I can do. I can roll it up and try and wear it as a scarf. Makes it fairly thick though. Yeah, but I think there are many ways I can wear this, and I'm really, really happy I finished it, and I'm actually happy that the weather got colder. I usually love the warm weather, but this gave me a chance to show this off, so that's good. And I'll say standing to show you the crochet top that I'm also wearing at the moment. This is a Japanese pattern out of one of the Japanese magazines. I actually bought that one in Germany, in Frankfurt, in a Japanese shop. But I also have quite a few magazines that I've either bought in Japan or my sister brought for me from Japan. And I love Japanese patterns because they do everything with diagrams. There is usually only very little text that I can't read and can't understand. But because of the diagrams, they show every stitch and every like neckline and armhole and everything. So I can follow them even though I can't read Japanese. The top starts off with a circle, and then you repeat the same circle for the back. Then part of the circle is sewn together, and then for the corners up here, you crochet, it's not really a triangle, but you crochet a bit here and a bit there, and then you do the same on the back. And I was supposed to do the same down here to sort of square things off, so that I'd get a straight line for the front and back, but I didn't. For one, I was a bit too lazy to do it, but also I was a bit worried the top got to be really long, and I was afraid if I crochet these things in, it might get too tight over my hips. And I quite like this round shape for the for this lower line. And then at the end, everything gets a crocheted edge, and I did that just for the round part and also up for the armhole and the neckline. I'm really happy with the top the way it is. I was not very happy while I was crocheting it, and I checked my Ravelry page, and I started this project sometime in 2011. I never put down the date, and I finished it in August 2014. So it took me several years to finish this, and I remember that after I started the first circle, I left it in some corner for quite a long time because I did not enjoy working with the yarn. The yarn is by Lana Grossa. It was called Basics Playa. It's discontinued by now. I mean, it's a long time ago that I crocheted this. And it's a bit more than half viscose, and the other half, or a bit less than half, is cotton. So I like the material, the way it feels, but the way the yarn was made, it was very splitty. So I kept either going between the plies while I crocheted, but I think what happened most often is that when I tried to pull the yarn through, that I would grab only a few of the strands, and that made it really difficult to work with, and I had to always look very closely at what I was doing. And I think that was the main reason that I left it lying around for such a long time. And then at some point I finished the first circle and started the second one, and again I think I left it somewhere. And I remember in the summer when I finished it that I just kept carrying it around with me all places just to be sure I actually finished it, and I really wanted to get it done. I did want to wear it. I love the design. I love wearing it. I love how you can layer it on top of just something simple or something warmer if it's not that warm, and I love the way it looks. I just did not enjoy working with the yarn. So, but now it's done. I'm happy, and I'm showing it off today, and now I can even put my shawl back on. Unless it gets too warm, then I'll take it off. We'll see about that. So now I'm just folding a bit of a triangle like this, so I won't have a double layer all the way. And yeah, I just keep experimenting with how to wear it. So this gives me 2 lines of beads that show that. So I also like wearing square shawls like this a lot. Okay, so much for what I'm wearing. Then on to finished objects. I have one finished object. I have one proper new cast on, so that sort of works out well. But I also have a sort of new cast on where I cast on another part of an already existing project. Yeah, but first to my finished object. You won't be surprised that I finished the cashmere pullover. It was almost finished last week. All I had to do was finish the second sleeve, and I cast the stitches off. I had my sister try the pullover on. It seemed to be a bit too short in the sleeves, but I wasn't quite sure how the yarn would react to washing. So I said I'll wash it first and then have her try it on again. I wasn't able to do that after I washed the pullover because she caught a cold and stayed at home. So I haven't seen her since I washed the pullover. But the one thing that's very obvious is that now that after I've washed it and laid it flat to dry, this part is a lot flatter. So it doesn't sort of go up and down the way it used to because there were so many stitches. But this came out really beautifully and the way I hoped it would. And also I did not pin the sleeves down. I just pulled them just a bit lengthwise. I didn't really pull it. I just tried to lay it flat and as long as possible. And they are now quite a bit too long for me. So I'm pretty sure they should be the right length for my sister. So I did weave in all the ends. But if they are too short on her or not as long as she wants them to be, then I will undo the woven in end and add a few rows. Yeah, but this is what it looks like now. If I manage to finish my pullover until December, we might wear them for the video that we hopefully will do together in December again. But we'll see. Maybe we'll have knit something else that we want to wear at the same time. We could wear the crochet cardigan, even though hers is a summer cardigan. So maybe we won't be wearing those. You'll see. Anyway, this is cashmere yarn by Hansa Farm. It's beautiful to work with and it's so soft, and I'm pretty sure it'll be fantastic to wear. I'm very happy with the way the pattern looks, and I am actually going to use the same colors for my pullover, and all I'll do is do 2 sizes smaller for the yoke, and basically most of the rest will be more or less the same. So we'll see about that. I haven't started it yet. I've put down all the numbers. I've counted all the stitch counts. I haven't counted the rows. Those I will just try on, and yeah, at some point I will start my pullover, and then we'll see how long it takes me to finish that. Okay, that's my only finished object for today. Then on to works in progress. As usual, I'll start with the socks. You know all 4 pairs of socks that I'm knitting at the moment, so I probably won't be saying too much about them. The first one, as usual, 3 times a cable, a Sock Madness pattern. This is the front of the sock. Then the sides have this 2-color cable pattern. And then the back of the sock started off with this cable pattern that we split into to accommodate the increases for the heel. I finished all the increases. I did the heel turn, and there I mixed up the colors. I kept mixing up which is color A and color B, and especially since I switched color A and B around for the second sock, I completely got it wrong, and this bit should have been orange. So I brought the first sock, and you can see that the colors are reversed. I hope you can see that. It's just such a mix of colors. It's really difficult to tell, but you can see that this is the dark color here. So this should have been the orange color here, but I only realized when I was about to start the decreases, and I decided it doesn't matter. They are going to be for myself. I'm not in the competition. In the competition, of course, I would have had to undo this bit and re-knit it with the right color, but it doesn't matter. And so I started the decreases, and I'm still knitting the decreases. So those stitches here will be completely decreased, and then I'll be following this pattern, which is now a 2-color pattern that mimics this cable pattern. I think this is such a clever thing that she's done there, that the designer has done there. And then this pattern stays the same, and this pattern stays the same. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with the progress I made on these socks. And now I'm already looking forward to finishing them. Still a bit of work to do, but as my feet are fairly small, not too much to do. We just have a look at this. So once I finish the decreases, it's only like this bit of pattern and then a fairly small toe. Yeah, not too much. Okay, that was the first pair of socks. The second pair is the Contrast Blast socks by Stephen West. His mystery knit along for socks, his first mystery sock. And I'm using this opal subscription color, which is now part of the Rainforest series, and my contrast color is the black Alpaca yarn, which is so soft. And I'll show you my second sock now. So that one looks the same as last week. So this was clue 1, this bit was clue 2, and I haven't started doing the clue 3 yet, but, and again I continue with sock 1 because that was the last sock I did for the second clue, but it wouldn't have mattered because I'd cut off the black yarn anyway. But I'm now showing the first sock, and this is what it looks like now. So for the third clue, the first thing we did was pick up stitches from the heel flap and then do the gusset decreases, and then there's this cable running next to the decreases, and then for the top of the foot we repeat the first pattern, and then the sole is just knit in stripes. I had changed the number of rows I did for the heel flap, so I had fewer stitches that I picked up, and I also already had decided to do fewer stitches for the sole because the number of stitches that I used is usually too big for my size, but I wasn't quite sure how many cables there would be and how much the the color work would make the sock tighter. So I went with size 2, which has 72 stitches, which is a lot of stitches for my foot. So I decreased more than the pattern called for, and the size is about okay now. It's rather too big than too small, but that's okay. I can wear them on top of other socks or something. And yeah, after I finished the decreases, there were just a few more rounds of pattern given in the clue, and then I'm waiting for the fourth and last clue. But before that comes, I will have to knit the third clue on the second sock, and then yeah, the next clue will be the last clue, and I probably won't be able to get a lot of pattern in before I have to start the toe, depending on what kind of toe he does for the sock. Yeah, so not showing any sock anymore, just in case you weren't looking because you still want to be surprised. So that was sock number 2. Sock number 3 are the film reel socks. The second pair of film reel sock for nephew number 2. And I'm using this blue color from the Cats and Dogs series. I finished the heel. I finished 2 more film reels and just started with the third one. Yeah, so the first film reel socks I knit were also for him, and I used a bigger needle and therefore needed fewer rounds and could only do 2 film reels for his foot. But I had to knit quite a bit of in the main color before I did the toe. Otherwise it would have been too short, but it was a third film reel would be too long. So the next time I knit bigger sizes for his brother and his father, I used smaller needles and did a fairly short toe so that I could get 3 film reels in. So now for his second film reel socks, he'll get 3 film reels, and then after that I can do a fairly short toe, and then the first sock will be done. And I hope to get this done this week and maybe even start the second sock so that I will definitely be finished before his birthday. Film reel sock number 6, I think. Yeah, and the fourth pair of socks are the pattern battle socks that I am knitting out of another Opal subscription color, and that's this color. It was one of the 6 colors that we got in the last parcel, so maybe this color will reappear in one of the official series by Opal, then everybody can buy it. But maybe not. Maybe it's going to be a one of a kind. We don't know yet because it always takes a bit of time until the colors are revealed for the next series. Last time I think I'd only started the toe, and after I finished the toe I put in the color work pattern. So it's these flowers. The red color is another color way from the Cats and Dogs series, and then I used just a solid dark green from Opal as the second contrast color, and then I kept knitting, and then I started the increases for the heel, and I did the heel turn and I finished the whole heel. I really enjoyed knitting on these. This bit was a good travel project because I only had this one color hanging from it and there's no pattern. I was just knitting stockinette stitch, so that was quite easy to do. And now I reach the point where I want to put the second bit of color work in. So I am going to do the color work just above the ankle, the way she does it for the shorty socks, but so far I'm still planning on knitting knee-high socks. But after I finish the color work, I'll definitely do the second sock first and knit to the same spot, and then my plan is to knit from on top of the color works to my knee. I want to knit both socks at the same time, so I can use the ball of yarn from both ends and I can really knit until I've used up all of the yarn. That's the plan. So these are the 4 pairs of socks that I'm working on at the moment. Then I'm going to show you my not my proper new cast on, but another part in an existing project, and that's another gnome. So I'm trying to knit, or I'm planning to knit all the gnomes from the Grimblewoods collection. That's a collection of patterns that Sarah Shearer published last year. But back then you could only get the patterns if you ordered the yarn, and that was just too expensive to order from Germany. So I waited until she released the patterns by themselves this year, and then I bought the patterns. I've already finished two of the 4 gnomes, and I knit the toadstool, the mushroom, and right now I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to knit the cottage or not, but before I have to make that decision, I'm going to knit the other 2 gnomes, and this is going to be Normanda of Grimblewood. So this is the first gnome in the collection for me, at least, or maybe she's the only one, I don't know. But she uses all 5 colors that are in the collection. With all the other things, with the 3 other projects, they only used like 2, 3, or 4 colors, and she's going to use all 5 colors. So far, I've only used 2, the gray for the hat, and then this, which in the original pattern is red. I'm using this colorful 6-ply sock yarn by Oberhal. It's I'm only using leftover yarns, or I'm mostly using leftover yarns for these gnomes. I'm not quite sure whether the gray was leftover yarn or whether I used a full skein for that. But the colorful yarn, the opal yarn, is all leftover yarn. So I knit the hat with the colorful brim, and I've started the body, and I've cross-stitched this little hat. I hadn't even noticed that little detail on the pictures so far, but when it was in the pattern, I really enjoyed just stitching over that one stitch, and it sort of looks like a little hat. Quite like that. Yeah, so I have to finish the body, and she's wearing a pullover or a dress, not quite sure. So I have to knit that, and then of course the arms and the nose. And right now I'm not quite sure whether or not I don't think she has a beard. I think she has braids, so like her hair in braids. Yeah, I think that's it. So this is going to be Normanda of Grimblewood, another little gnome. Or not quite as little as I'm using the 6-ply yarn. Okay, then on to the garments. There's only 3 garments left because I finished one. And the first one is always the dress that I am knitting for one of my cousin's daughters. I'm using this, I think this is another Lana Grossa yarn. And I'm knitting the, what's it called? Oh, what's it called? I think I wrote it down at some point. The bilberry dress, that's it. So it's not very exciting. I just keep knitting and increasing and knitting and increasing. I finished another ball of yarn. If I haven't misplaced anything, this is the second to last ball of yarn that I have. So my plan is to definitely finish this, and then I have to see how many rounds I've knit with this ball of yarn to decide how much of the last one I'm going to just do plain knitting, and when I will start the ribbing that I want to have at the bottom of the dress. So I will probably knit until all the yarn's gone and not until I've reached a certain length, because I don't think it's anywhere close to being too long. So it's probably going to be the yarn that determines when I will stop knitting. So that's that. Then I have the Llama Pullover that I'm knitting out of this beautiful llama yarn. And I'm knitting the Wiener Hop pattern by Nicola Susan. And you start off sort of knitting your gauge swatch and going straight into the pullover. And I'd stop knitting down here when I finished knitting with the ball of yarn that was attached somewhere. So this is the end of that ball. And then I started knitting the sleeve. And I'm knitting the sleeve in the single color without the white stripes, but I'm using the purl stitches that are in the pattern. And the original pattern, the whole pullover looks like this, with just this bit of patterning in with the pearl stitches, and but I decided to do white stripes to make sure that I have enough yarn, because I only have the 5 skeins in the blue, and I didn't want, and we always had to order 5 skeins. So I bought one full package in blue, and then the white I bought together with a friend. So we split the bag of white yarn to make sure that we have enough for whatever we wanted to do. Yeah, so this is what the sleeve looks like. It's rather on the tight side and not on the wide side, but I've decided that I'm okay with that. Yeah, it knits up fairly quickly on these big needles. I hope to finish the sleeve this week. So I'll have to make a decision how long I want the sleeve to be. I will have to make a decision whether one of those stripes hits directly on top of the ribbing so that I can put a white stripe in and then do a blue ribbing. If not, I might not do a white stripe. I'll have to see about that. So yeah, knitting, trying on, knitting, trying on. That's the plan for this week. So that's that. And then before we come to the crochet along, I'm going to show you the proper new cast on that I did this week. And that's an accessory. As I said, I didn't have, I didn't have any small projects. So I wanted to cast on small projects. That's why I started the gnome. And that's also why I started this little, what's the word in English? I think collar. I'm crocheting a collar. And it's from this book, Vintage Häkeln, which means vintage crochet. I've had this book for quite a long time, and I think ever since I got the book, I've wanted to do this collar, and this is what it looks like. And I really like the way it looks. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to wear it with, but I just like the way it looks. And so if you pull it tight here, it's just a collar, but if you open this knot and you pull it lengthwise, it's like a very short scarf. So I could wear it like a very short scarf, and then sort of just go like this, or you can pull it tight and then you have this collar. And the yarn I've decided to use for it, and one of the reasons I never started it is because I didn't know which yarn to use. So when I got this Royal Alpaca by Hansa Farm, I decided this is the yarn I want to use. Not this color, but the other color that I bought. So the Royal Alpaca is even softer than the baby alpaca. So this is baby alpaca, which is not from babies. It's not from young alpacas. It's just from a certain point on the alpaca. That's called baby alpaca. And then other parts where you get the yarn, it's called Royal Alpaca. And this is the softest bits of hair the alpacas have. And I got this dark gray and I got the light gray. And this is the color I want to use. So it's basically the same color as in the book. And it starts off by crocheting a tiny scarf. So this is sort of the main pattern. It's just a 2-row repeat. And the yarn I'm using is a bit thinner than in the book. So this is a bit smaller than it's supposed to be. Of course, I didn't swatch. I mean, this looks like a swatch. And after I realized it was smaller, I could have undone it and added a few stitches to get a bit wider. But I decided it's going to be big enough. So it's sort of the height of my neck. And then once I finish this scarf, what I'm going to do is crochet this wide pattern, these wide thingies. They are crocheted around 3 sides of the scarf. So they're going to go along the short edges and one long edge and then the other short edge. And that's going to take a few rows to do, and then there'll be a slight pattern on the 4th side of the scarf, and then it's worn with the short pattern on top and the wide pattern to the front and the lower edge. Yeah, so haven't done too much yet, but yeah, yeah, it's a joy to work with. It's so soft and wonderful. And with light grey, it's easy to see the stitches. And I hope to finish the scarf itself this week and maybe start off with a pattern around. I am thinking of crocheting it to the length that is specified in the pattern, which means I will have to have a look at the pattern that goes around to see how many more rows I have to crochet so that the whole pattern fits along the edge. So I'll have to do there will have to be some calculations to be done. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's my new project. Looking forward to continuing that. Right now, I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to keep the little collar or scarf for myself or maybe give it away for Christmas. Maybe I'll do another one, but I'll decide that once that's finished and I can see if I'm going to wear it and if somebody else wants to have it. We'll see about that. And then, as usual, my last project, the crochet along hexagon cardigan. I'm crocheting out of 6-ply sock yarn by Opal. I have added a few more rows to the bottom of the cardigan, and that's all I've done. And you can't really tell the difference. It's just gotten a tiny bit longer. So I really hope that this week I can get it to the final length that I want to have so that I can crochet around all the edges and then basically get it done. Maybe add a bit of length to the sleeve. So I hope to either get it completely or almost done this week. Depends on how much time it takes to finish up this yarn and this yarn. I don't have to use up all of the yarn, but I do hope to use as much as possible. Yep, that's it. So that's everything I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!